our faces.
Yes.
Hello, everybody, and hello, Andrea, and
Hello,
welcome.
Selena. Thank you for the lovely welcome.
Oh my God, you have no idea. It's Saturday evening, and how did I get so lucky?
How did
Literally,
I?
how? You charmer. Oh, you charmer. I mean, really and seriously, thank you so much for
Thank
accepting
you.
the invitation and for
Well, how could I refuse?
you couldn't.
I couldn't. I just
That's the
couldn't.
truth. You
I
couldn't.
just couldn't. I just couldn't.
But that's also why I asked you,
Thank
because
you.
ever since I had the pleasure and the honor and the how should I say, the amazement of a photo shoot with you, which was not long ago, I
No, it
was like,
wasn't.
there is so much more this guy has to tell to the world than what we I just how should I say, I just touched, caressed the surface.
Yeah.
So I have to admit, it started with a selfish reason.
Hmm.
I
Tell me
wanted
more.
more. I wanted more of you. I
Oh.
wanted more of your
Oh.
perspective on life.
Yeah.
So, for those who are jumping on and watching us now or later, welcome to Through the Lens of Life. This is a series of mini interviews, which are absolutely not mini, not small, with favorite people in the world who, how should I say, all along the way have enticed our senses with different views and perspectives on lives other than what the media generally presents us. So I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have tonight Andrea Belluso. He's acclaimed internationally photographer, and he's been everywhere, and he still is everywhere, delighting everybody, but also inviting us to a totally different perspective on life, which I had the taste of in a very specific environment. So, welcome, Andrea.
Thank you so much, Selena. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. And I have to say one thing about our photo shoot. It was such fun. It
I
was such
know,
fun.
right? I
Yep.
know, right? I
Yes.
know. And it stays with me as one of the most, how should I say, most expensive moments of my life
Oh, wow.
and of
Thank you.
my relationship that I have with my body. But let's start with somewhere. Who
Yes.
are you?
Wow.
Keep it simple, keep it simple,
Okay.
like and how did you get to enjoy this thing that you're doing in life, which is photography?
Wow, just with that question, I could go on for like 10 days, I think.
We have 30 minutes.
So on the who am I, that's a very good question because I can't even define myself because, you could say I'm a photographer. Sure, I take pictures professionally. And I'm also, facilitating access classes, and I'm also doing coaching sessions, and I'm also producing and directing TV shows. I'm directing TV commercials. I'm currently writing a book. So what am I? I don't know. Yes, the book was a little
Oh
sneaky
my God, that
teaser,
was
though.
like
I know, I know.
I like that. So it's not only image, but it's also words.
Yes,
Okay, tell me more.
yes.
Tell me more.
Well, yes, we'll get to that in a minute. And then also on the who am I mean, people think that I'm Italian, and yes, I do have an Italian passport. My father was Italian, my mother was half Italian and half Eritrean. So there already but so you're not Italian, and I lived in Italy only 3.5 years of my life, my entire life. So
Really?
am I really? Yeah. So am I really Italian? Questionable. So what am? Oh, but then you're Swedish because you're in Sweden a lot of the time. Well, no, I'm not. I have so little to do with Swedish culture. I can relate so little with Sweden. There are a lot of strong points, of course. My wife is Swedish. My kid is half Swedish. Well, actually, he's not half Swedish. He's even more undefinable than I am, come to think of it. So, but I'm a British resident. So where am I from? No idea. So who am I? Big question mark. And I like to keep it that way. I like to be undefinable. And what was the other part of the question is how I got to enjoy my life. Well, it has not always been as yummy as it is now. And even now,
No way.
yes,
No
way, yes,
way.
way, yes, way, yes, way. I was actually ready to kill myself a few years ago. I was done. I was completely done. Yeah, yes.
Well, but if this is how somebody looks like almost done, I wonder then
Yeah,
how does. Yeah. Okay. Tell me
yeah.
more.
Well, I think it was like almost 15 years ago now, 14, 15 years ago. I was done because I was going through two bankruptcies, a divorce. I went from being really wealthy to being in debt over my eyeballs within the space of 2 weeks.
Wow.
And yeah, in 2 weeks I created all that. So, and I had, it was one evening where I was here in Stockholm, and it was snowing and it was cold, and I was taking my little dog, which is not this one, it was another one that passed away.
We want to see the little one as well.
The little
That's a
one went
surprise.
away somewhere, but that's a surprise that's coming soon. Yes. And so I was with my little dog then, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm really done with this. This does not work for me. It's just too much to handle and all of that stuff. And I was like, okay, so, and I decided to jump from a bridge into a frozen lake from a very high height. So death was kind of guaranteed. And
Wow.
or the other choice that I had, one of the other choices, well, the only other choice that I could see at that moment was I go to instead of going left to the bridge, I go right to a mental clinic and ask them to lock me up for my own safety. And since I had a 6-year-old son that was sleeping upstairs, I chose to go to the clinic. And I was in there for 2 months with 13 different very heavy medicines every day. I was basically a zombie. And while I was in the clinic, my brother and sister came to Stockholm to visit me. And my brother one day ended up in a class of a very weird thing called access consciousness. And he came back to me the day after with a business card of a facilitator and said, I don't know what this is. I ended up in the middle of the class, and I think that it maybe is something that could be for you. And he gave me the business card. I don't know if one day, 1 week, 1 month went by or even more, but eventually I called this person that now is a fantastic friend of mine, Musa the Brain, and I had my first bar session.
Wow.
And a facilitation. And that session, that bar session and facilitation actually empowered me to see that everything that happened within those 2 weeks before those 2 months, I had actually been the creator of.
Wow.
It's kind of potent. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. And
it's immense.
It's huge. It's huge because I could not see that until that point. I could not see that without the questions. I couldn't see how I had actually created so much crap in my life and so many interesting choices. And but that brought me to the awareness that have I been creating that much in such a short amount of time? What else could I choose to create?
Exactly. I was like, magic post creator of something.
Exactly. And she actually said to me, she said to me, can you acknowledge that you're a potent creator of magnitude? And I was like, well, I guess I can now. And I started playing with some of the tools of Access, and and one of the tools is like ask and you shall receive. And I started making some big asks, and I was having dinner with some friends of mine that had a very glamorous lifestyle in those days. They were taking one luxury holiday a month. Every month they were going on a luxury holiday. Me too.
I'm having that.
Me too. And also out of that dinner, and they were showing me pictures. They had been on a cruise in Mexico, and they showed me pictures of this fantastic, big yacht and everything, and it was really incredible. And I'm not the jealous or, kind of person. So I was not jealous of their lifestyle, but instead I was inspired by it. And because of that situation, I had not been traveling for 2 years because I had to build up to those 2 months. So, and I've always been traveling since I was a little kid. So my big ask to the universe was like, wow, I'm having more travel. I would like to travel to places that I've never seen, places in the world that I didn't even know existed. And I would like to do this with what I just received. These tools that empowered me. I would like to use these tools to empower other people, especially photographers, in choosing more. So I would like to choose to empower people through photography and what else is possible.
Ooh.
Less than 1 month later, the biggest photography lighting company in the world contacted me. I didn't even know it was them contacting me. I was headhunted, basically. And they offered me a job where I was traveling the world, holding classes, and I had huge classes with I had my biggest class, live class, was with 800 people live.
Wow.
And plus 800 people outside the door of the theater that could not come in.
Wow.
And that was in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, and that was in Saudi Arabia. That was in Saudi Arabia. So,
speaking of miracles, speaking of creating miracles.
Yeah. So, after that, I was like, okay, so I can really choose my life. I can create my life. And the thing is, though, that I was kind of short-sighted because I thought, okay, I've used the tools, I created the life that I desire, I'm done, I'm fine, I'm happy now, I'm living a fantastic life. The one little tool that I forgot to use was, how does it get any better than this? And what else is possible?
For those who are watching and don't know anything about access consciousness, I'm inviting you to have a look on the bright side and go to the www.accessconsciousness.com. Have a look, see what triggers you, tricks you, tickles you, everything. And then if you have questions, you know where to find both of us, because we are kind of dealing with the same stuff.
Yes.
Same tools.
Yeah, exactly.
Same tools and energies.
Exactly.
So go on. This was just the for people to have more clarity.
Yeah, so I started using these tools, these very, very simple, basic, pragmatic tools that are questions. Basically, it's questions. The thing that I love about Access is that there's nobody that gives you an answer. You're just given a lot of questions to use. And for me, the questions are empowering, whereas the answer is disempowering, because the answer tells you this is how it's going to be done. And this is the result. And that's very limiting. The question opens up.
Wait, I have to ask you something, because for me, this was the most annoying part.
It can get very annoying.
You know that thing when for the first time so I was listening to a conversation. This happened today. We were sitting at the table in the middle of Brussels, and all I could hear was these full stops. There were some ladies talking to each other, and all I could hear was full stop, full stop, full stop, and everybody was being right and being so. I have to tell you how much I know, and you have to take it that I'm the one who knows. That kind of energy.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, I recognize it too, because there was absolutely no space for a question over there. Look. Oh my God, that's a question on legs.
This is a question on legs.
Hi, sweetie. Oh,
he's amazing. He's actually one of my favorite facilitators, because he facilitates me every day. He's 12 weeks old. And actually, because of that, I opened up an Instagram account for him, just for fun. And it's actually, his name is Crumpet, and so his account is his account is Crumpet Yorkie Facilitator.
Oh my God! We should all have a session with him. Actually, look at that!
Oh God!
Look at that! That's a love story live going on, like shamelessly going on.
Yes.
Right now, live. Oh my God! Let me have all that.
Yep. And how he functions is no point of view, no judgment, no separation, just playfulness and just enjoying life.
Yeah. And that's something that I wanted to ask you a few questions about. So I would like to know what brought you to the photography. From all the ways in the world to express yourself and to showing people something else.
Yeah, I have a fantastic story to tell you about that. I was 16 years old. I was in London, and I was one of the first punks in the world. Yes.
Okay.
Which means that I was spending my days, instead of going to school, I was very bored with school. It was really not for me. I was spending my days at the end of King's Road in London, hanging with the Sex Pistols themselves. And And
Wow.
my parents were kind of desperate because I was skipping school. Sometimes I would disappear. I was playing in bands. I didn't know how to play, but the whole thing about punk that I loved was that, hey, you want to play drums? You don't know how to play drums, but just get a drum kit and get up on stage, you know?
I
So
love
that's what
that.
I did. That's what I did. So I became a musician that I'm not, but I was playing with big bands. I was playing with really big bands. And, and so I would go on tour and I would kind of forget to tell my parents that I was going on a 2 weeks tour. So they were like going insane with me, going completely mad because I was completely wild. I was completely untamable. I was completely like, just really having fun and creating my life already then. And
Nothing changed actually. Not there's not nothing.
no, in the ground, in the base, no, nothing much changed there. No. So my parents were desperate, for my future. My father's dream was for me to become like him, a diplomat. He was a diplomat, and and one day he was talking to a photographer, a very famous photographer called Bardo Fabiani, who actually used to assist David Bailey, so one of the biggest photographers in the world ever. He was his assistant, so I come from that school, kind of. And he was talking to him at the Italian embassy in London, talking about me, saying, I'm kind of desperate with my son. And he told him the story that I just told you. And also he added that I was interested in photography, which I was. You want to come up again? I have a very demanding one here. And I love that.
We love that.
And
We love that.
yes,
We love
yes.
that.
And I used to borrow my dad's camera just to have fun and play with it and go and take pictures of my friends, of landscapes, of objects, of just having fun and playing. And he told him this and he said, is there anything that you can recommend me to do for him? And he said, well, if he wants, I already have 2 assistants, but he can be my 3rd assistant. And 3rd assistant in those days especially is basically a slave because you're not paid. You do everything they tell you. You're not allowed to talk to anyone, especially not the models on set, which for a 16-year-old boy is, young man
A
is,
wild one.
yeah, a wild one is not a very, yeah. And, but that's what I was offered. And my dad came home that day and he said, you have this possibility. And if you take that, you can jump off school next week. So
Wow.
they empowered me to choose my life at the age of 16.
This is huge. I
Yeah, it's
wish
huge.
I wish all the parents who are going to watch this interview hear
Yeah,
your
yeah,
words
yeah.
and
It
remember that the job of a parent is to empower the kid,
completely,
not
completely,
give rules and regulations.
completely. And what did I know and what did they both know to give me that gift? Uh, God, sorry, I'm in tears of gratitude here
Yeah.
because I have not seen many parents actually giving that much empowerment to their 16-year-old wild kids. And it was really from my father's side, especially, was no point of view whatsoever. It was really like, hey, you know what? You want to choose this? I'll give you that. You want to choose being a musician? You can still choose that. And I can also, and he actually told me, if you take the music road, I can, this and this and this could actually happen. And then it's your choice. So they were giving me free choice.
Wow. Ooh, this
And
this wow.
I chose that, and photography for me has been and is still, it's today even a much bigger gift than I could see then. Because then what I could see was creating beautiful images and inspiring people through images. What I see today is that the pictures that we create, if we create them consciously and in a certain way, which is not a definition, but it's just what I mean with that is being with no judgment whatsoever, with barriers down, in total vulnerability, and inviting the person in front of your camera to be also totally vulnerable and inviting them to actually see themselves, sometimes even for the first time in their lives, then that actually creates magic. And the gift of photography is that you can no longer, once you have a session like that, you can no longer deny that you actually have choice of who you be every second, every split second of your life.
You know right now that I'm drooling all over whatever you're saying. I'm like, more of that, please, more of that, because it's not because I took my session with you and it was one of those moments when we all remember. We all. I mean, me, you, and Amanda, who was there
Yeah.
as well. There was that moment when somebody was in somewhere in the background, and I just had this killer look, and you captured it on the camera. And for me, it was, this is not something that people can see about me. It has been that look that had been judged
Yeah.
so intensely for
Yeah.
me being too much, for being too out there, for being too. So when you took that picture, you actually made me snap, almost snap at you. And I said, I don't want this. And this is where the beauty came in, because you said it's so beautiful when we create the image. So how okay, let's go to we create the image, and what is it that you're actually facilitating with your perspective?
Well, I'm facilitating several layers through the process of the session, because for me, these sessions are not, it's not a portrait session. And I think you realize that. It's
It's
a,
it's different.
it's a different kind of,
It's everything at the
yeah.
same time.
It's a different kind of facilitation, put it that way, where the
Yeah.
pictures are just a result. It's a bonus. It's a takeaway, basically, of the facilitation. That's what they are. And as you know, I deliver all of the images, including the ones that you judge the most, because the ones that you judge the most are actually a great gift. Because if you look at a series of pictures and you take one that you judge the most, and I invite you to judge the crap out of it, really bring out all the judgment. I mean, really all of it. And then you carry on in the series until you find one that you totally adore, and receive that and be grateful for that. And if you have all the gratitude in the universe for that image, then go back to the one that you judged and be grateful for that one, because without that one, you cannot have gratitude, cannot have created anything else. And that does not just apply for pictures, that applies to the timeline of life, as this two-dimensional reality puts it. And then we can continue the conversation into other dimensions in our life. But this is just a simple way to put it, is that we would not be where we are today with everything that we've been choosing in our life, no matter how interesting that choice was. And if you find yourself in that interesting choice right now and you judge the crap out of it, please look back into something that you could judge maybe even more or as much. And in between these 2 points in your life where you're judging the crap out of yourself and your situation, find something, even if it's a half a second, of pure joy, of pure gratitude, and think of what I just said. And know that by creating that moment of joy and being grateful for what you had created before that was interesting, if you could actually be grateful for what you are now, and being grateful for the fact that maybe this moment of that you're judging, maybe it's actually what is required for you to choose something different, for you to actually become aware of what you're choosing to maybe destroy your life as well. And I'm saying this because this came up for me, actually, and it's not that I found the secret recipe. It's not that at all. I mean, life is intense, and intense is not negative. Intense just means that all the crap that you've been functioning from actually comes to the surface, and you have it in your face. And when you have it in your face, you can have the choice to deal with it and do something with it, and maybe let it go and maybe choose something different.
I totally love what you're saying right now. I'm relating it to the perspective that each and every one of us has on life. That choice. You can look at everything as a miracle, or you can look at everything as being something less of a miracle.
Yes.
But as you said, it was such an intense session with you. I actually ended up lying on the floor, and you took some nude pictures. That was the how should I say, the pinnacle of all of this.
I love those pictures. I love those pictures.
Me too. And they are so juicy for me, because for such a long time I have been judging my body like that's not the body that can be showed. And then all of a sudden it came out so naturally and so this is what I wanted to go to the gratitude of the space that you are as a photographer, who allows the person in front of you to make those choices that are going to create a miracle or yet another disaster if you choose it like this. But I don't think anybody is looking at the disaster when is, how should I say, presented with what you see in those moments.
Well, the thing is, thank you so much for saying this, because what I noticed with my photography is that until a certain point, and actually until I discovered Access and looking more into it, more in depth into it, and really using the tools, I noticed that before I used to see people and I used to see their beauty, and I was trying to, I'm a fashion photographer that's my specialty, and fashion and beauty photographer. And what I do now is that I actually don't see the physical body, or rather I see it, but what I actually see is the being. And when I see the being, and when I invite the being to really come through, because the being has no judgment, it's the mind that has judgment. So when you get the mind out of the way for just a few minutes, and you invite rather the person in front of your camera to actually step into being them, with no judgment, with no projections, with no rejections, with no separation, with no conclusions, and with no expectations, then that's the real beauty that everybody has. We all have it. We all have it. And we try and hide it so much all the time, because we try and fit into tiny boxes. We try and compare ourselves to others that are trying to compare themselves to us, and we can't even see that. And it's like a vicious circle. And, and for me, that's the gift of photography in itself, is that it's a tool that if it's used in a certain way, if it's used in a conscious way, it can actually be an invitation to really never ever having to deny what you actually see with your physical eyes, with your eyes.
Wow.
So it's an invitation to the being to step up, so that the body, the eyes, the mind, or whatever, can actually go beyond everything else and go like, okay, well, I cannot hide it anymore. I'm sorry. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I tried so much to hide it from you, but okay,
But I have this impression that I mean, I've seen a lot of people going to photo shoots, and it's like they are so desperately trying not to show that side of themselves that they are judging the most, but somehow that's the thing that comes up. So, extrapolating a bit this with the perspective on life. Did you train yourself to see beauty in life, or was it something that came naturally?
It actually came naturally, I think, because already as a kid, I remember being a total snob. And really, when I say snob, is really being demanding on what I choose in my life, what I choose to eat, what I choose to drink, what I choose to listen to, what I choose to see. And actually see beauty pretty much everywhere. And especially in people. I really see beauty in people. And so, and I must say that my mother was a big inspiration in that, because she was an utter snob, and I adore that about her. And she was always choosing the best of the best in everything. And we're not talking about just expensive stuff. I'm also talking about the luxury of living, which for me is, looking at a beautiful sunset. You cannot take a picture of a beautiful sunset. You can manipulate it into something coming somehow close to what you're actually perceiving and experiencing, but you can never take a real picture of a beautiful sunset. A beautiful sunset, my recommendation, and this is not coming from me, it comes from Hiro, and Hiro was one of the biggest photographers in the world that I had the pleasure to actually meet and had long conversations with. And what Hiro told me one day, he said exactly this. He said that one day he was with his wife, and they were sitting on a cliff, and they were seeing this beautiful sunset. And his wife said, Hiro, where's your camera? And he just sat there in silence. And she went, Hiro, your camera, look, it's going, it's disappearing. He said, just, this is the picture. This is the picture. Your camera is you. Just look at it. It's the picture. It's moving.
Wow.
And that's all he said. And I was like, wow, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Wow.
And it's really this.
Let me ask you one thing, because this brings me to something else. Why? I know it's not an access question, so we are not going to go to access questions. But this is why do you think people hold on to pictures? You know, they make them so special, and what's going on there?
They try and build reference points to function from. They try and solidify with the pictures, which most people use as memories. They try and solidify a moment that for them was joyful and fun, and they try and make that significant, instead of one other possibility could be like, wow, that was fun. What else is possible? And yeah, I'm not saying don't have the pictures. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying have the pictures, but don't limit yourself to that. Because that was just as much as I said before about judging one moment, it's the same as cherishing a moment through a picture, which is judgment as well. It's positive judgment. That moment was better than anyone else, than any other moment in my life. You know, a lot of people look at memories from their childhood and go like, oh, those were the good old days.
Oh,
well, sorry.
You look at the pictures of yourself from 10 years back and say, oh my God, I looked so good back then. And it's like, if you're done, you're dead and buried. You're never going to have a moment of glory anymore.
I mean, you know, a lot of people are actually, you know, they're just preparing to die. That's all they do. They're not living. They're just preparing to die. So, which actually means they're dead. It means they're dead in a living body that is actually decaying. Their body's actually decaying. And I just turned 59 a few weeks ago, and I'm enjoying life.
God! We know a few secrets, so
there you go. I revealed one. And I mean, I remember actually just before my birthday. And I remembered when I was a lot younger, well, when my body was a lot younger, wondering, I wonder what I would be like when I'm 60. I wonder what I will look like.
You can still wonder. You're not yet there.
And I must say that I created some images in my head then of what I would like to look at. And I'm seeing it. And I'm happy. And I'm so happy. I'm grateful for my body. And I'm grateful for, you know, and I have to apologize to my body because I don't always treat it kindly. And that could be another conversation that probably would take a few weeks. So, but I do have a better and better relationship with my body, and I am listening to it more and more, and not enough. It's not even a thousandth of what I could actually be choosing in terms of communication with my body and listening to it. But
I would say you're doing a pretty good job, and how does it get any better than that? What more? How more? I mean, this is truly an invitation to people to, you know, the perspective we have on life cannot exclude a body.
Absolutely not.
We are terrestrial as long as we have a body. When we don't have a body, we can be whatever we choose, but we are on the earth with a body. Why not appreciate that?
Exactly. And my point of view is that we create as infinite beings, as energetic beings. For those that don't understand the word infinite being, you can understand energetic being, I hope, because we all are made of energy. And that is a scientific fact, actually, for those of you that don't want to believe this. It's actually a scientific, even normal science today actually acknowledges this. You know?
Yes.
And the funny thing about that is that the energy that our body are made of, and that actually everything in the universe is made of, is actually held together by photons, hence the word photography. Hint, hint. And And the photons themselves is another long discussion, which I adore. It's one of my favorite topics. But anyway, so if we choose to create, if we are energy, we actually can get the thing that we actually created our body. And we created our body in order to be able to enjoy this planet with the so far known 5 senses, and I know that there are more because I've already discovered a few myself.
I'm a woman. I have
there
the
you go.
sixth
You
one
have the
for
sixth
sure.
one. Exactly. And so there's the sixth one, and there's the seventh one, and there's a TV series that I actually invite everybody to watch called Sense 8. And yes, I am discovering more and more of that eighth sense.
Yeah.
And so we create this to enjoy the body. Emphasis on the word enjoy and not torture ourselves through the experience of being here.
Take a note. Take a note. Write it down. We are not here to torture ourselves.
Exactly. We're not.
Where were you like 20 years ago?
I wonder the same. I could have done myself a hell of a lot of good.
Well, what if we started with every day is a new day, and even if today was, we could have chosen something else, but we went for something that felt familiar. Maybe tomorrow we have enough, how should I say, courage to choose for something else.
And thank you for that word, because it takes guts. It takes guts to actually start looking at you, start looking at your choices without judgment.
Yeah, that.
Really without judgment. And I'm saying that because, and I'm going to be totally vulnerable here, I'm still using a lot of self-judgment. And I have to acknowledge my friend Brendan Watt that caught me out on this one on a call the other day that is actually called No More Hiding, and that I chose because I don't want to hide from me anymore. I'm done with that. I'm really done. And I'm willing to go through this no matter what. And the last 8 months for me have been extremely intense, including Amanda divorcing me several times. For real. And also, I'm grateful for Amanda and me for choosing to go beyond this and asking questions. What will this create? And willing to go through the storms, the thunderstorms, the tsunamis, the earthquakes, and whatever of our relationship, and choosing to create something different and greater, not only for each other, but for ourselves. There would be contribution. And,
thank you for that.
And Brendan caught me out because he was saying, you're not willing to go through it. And I'm like, I am. And I was trying to go through the reason and justification of me going through these storms, going through these divorces, and going through this thing instead of just giving up. I could have given up. Both Amanda and I could have given up. It would have been easy. It would have been such an easy way out.
That's the easy part.
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean it's the one that creates.
Exactly. Because easy and ease are two different things. It's not always easy, but you can create ease. And I have so much more ease with everything right now. And so what Brendan told me was that, yes, you're willing to go through all of it. You're willing to go through hell, but you will always choose to go through it with a big pile of shit tied around your neck. And that pile of shit is called self-judgment.
Okay. Oops, that hurt a bit.
Oops.
A bit.
Just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. So yes, I am judging the crap of myself. And I realize from that facilitation, so thank you, Brendan, I realized that, wow, so I'm willing to go through all the storms. I'm willing to do everything. But the one thing that I'm not willing to give up is myself. I'm willing to lose everything. I'm willing to lose Amanda. I'm willing to lose my puppy, my son, myself, and everything. But I'm not willing to lose my judgment of me.
Well, you worked hard on it. I'm sorry.
Yes, I have worked hard on it. It's 59 years of work here, for God's sake.
So let me just say this, that it's not because you had it, not you. I mean, like generally, it's not because it has been in your life for a long time and you got used to it that it's still serving you.
Exactly.
Maybe that perspective that we're inviting people to right now is the one inquiring whether what they're having in their lives right now is serving for a greater, I wouldn't say purpose, but for a greater creation of their lives.
Yeah, more choice for you, basically. You
More
get more
choice.
choice. You get more possibilities that maybe you would not have seen before. And the one thing that I told Amanda after this call that we were on with Brendan, I called her and I was like, I've created so much space, so much space. So I called her and said, hey, babes, I realized that, when I go into my funky thing, and thank you for being there for me and not judging me and being so much in allowance of my crap and whatever. Please can you invite me to just, instead of doing mental masturbation, to go and masturbate, or just, invite me to go and have sex or whatever, and because mentally masturbating just leads to even more mental masturbation, to more judgment,
it
and to
leads
more
to
of that.
it leads to smoke.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas real masturbation, or actually nice and kind
Yeah,
sex,
that.
could be so nurturing that actually creates more.
Yeah.
So what do
I
you
will
choose?
I will pick there the word kindness, and this
Yes.
is where I would like to, well, say also thank you for the kindness that you truly be
Thank
in the
you for you.
interaction with all the people and those in front of the camera, behind of the camera. You are such a delightful conversation
Oh,
partner.
thank you. You
Thank
too.
you
I
for
loved
that
it.
kindness. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank
And
you.
if we were to leave people with one nugget, just one line, what would you tell them?
Very good question. I would probably just say, please stop making yourself wrong. And please know that whatever you've chosen so far, it actually has been exactly what you were choosing. And acknowledge that and be grateful for your choices and be grateful for you. And I would invite you to invite yourself to go on dates with you and make you your favorite person in the world. Because once you have that relationship with you, and I'm not saying I'm there yet, although I am sometimes, and sometimes I choose not to be. So if you choose that relationship, then you can actually start having a relationship with other people where you are in charge of your life. And that is the sexiest, most wonderful invitation ever.
Thank you so much, Andrea,
Thank you.
for being here tonight,
Thank
and
you.
so grateful for you.
And I'm grateful for you, Selena. That was, just meeting and playing with you in front of the camera and having this conversation, the conversation that we had in Mexico as well. You're such a gift. You're such a gift. And thank you for your willingness and your vulnerability with that session. And for me, sessions like that are a true gift to me and to the world. Thank you.
Receiving. Okay, we are going to say goodbye. Thank
Yes.
you, everybody, for watching us. Thank you for staying longer than planned.
Thank
And
you.
how does it get any better than that? A new episode
Indeed.
soon, and just keep an eye on the page. Thank you so much, Andrea. We are going to put all the links where people can, look you up, stalk you a bit.
Yes.
And
if I may just say one little thing about that, is that what we've spoken about in terms of the sessions is the link called Project Redefine Beauty, which is a project that I started 2 years ago. Please go on that site. I'll put this interview on link. That as well. And there's a lot of interviews there. So watch them, because that for me is something I'm doing as a gift.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kisses and hugs, everybody, and enjoy a wonderful evening. I'm going to celebrate beauty tonight.
Yes. Thank you, Selena. And thank you, everybody, for watching.